This is Romo Dunze, and you're listening to the Ballsville podcast.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Welcome in, Ballsville gamers, to another episode of the Ballsville podcast. I'm your host, Scott Fitzgerald, a.k.a. Ludes for Sale on Sleeper. And this episode is brought to you by the BallsvilleGame.com. Our games combine fantasy football and poker, which create big payouts with great odds.
Big payouts, great odds.
Exactly. I'm welcoming in my co-host. He is Bills Mafia, the number one team in the AFC. Goes by Sklem. He is Sean. What is up, Sean?
Not much, buddy. Good to be here, as always.
See how I slipped that in? Number one team in the AFC.
I did. I'd like that too. I wasn't going to correct you.
I know. So, all right, we're freelancing today. My prep work's a little off today. I am in the process of moving down to Florida. I am leaving tomorrow. So anyone that's experienced moving, which I'm sure they have, it's very hectic, very chaotic. I will only be down there for the winter months, and then I will be back to Michigan for the summer months. So very, very hectic here in the Fitzgerald household, trying to get all this stuff together, but I always have time for Ballsville. So we got a big show today. Just to let you guys know a little bit of scheduling. We will not be doing a pod on Friday. I will be in transit to Florida, and we will probably get back on that next week. I know the holidays, we didn't have the pod last week. The holidays kind of crept in, and we figured people would rather spend time with their family and that stuff. So we're going to try to unpack all this, because there were games on Thursday that we weren't really able to get to that we would usually do on the Friday pod. So a lot to unpack, and going to go over some redraft. It is 1 week. 1 week to jockey yourself into those playoff positions.
This is it, baby. This is the biggest week in fantasy football for me, man. I always love this. My favorite week right here, dude. You're always like, oh man, what league can I make it in with this win or loss, or who do I need to win or lose? And it's just, when you have multiple leagues like us, man, all we do is just sit there and go through each league. All right, what's the scenario on this one? What's the scenario on this one? It makes for like the most interesting football week in fantasy for me.
Yep. And what's up, Jimbos Bimbos, sniping the pod?
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, I want to tell everybody too that Jimbo sent us a great picture. He did receive the funds. He and we all, like I said, appreciate everyone that donated to Jimbo's fund. He actually sent us a picture of a stove that he purchased right before Thanksgiving. He was able to cook a nice meal for him and his family using that stove, which was provided to him with the generous donations from the Ballsville community. So we all want to thank you again. I know Jimbo thanks everybody too. It was at least Jimbo had a really nice Thanksgiving, and that's great. So really appreciate it. Like I said, for all the donations everyone sent out to us. So
awesome.
Awesome. Yep, that's super awesome. So we're we're gonna get into it. We got a lot to unpack in this pod, and we're gonna start off with, and I hate to bring this up, but I know I told you guys so. Drafting guys that are injured, injury designations coming in. You got CMC, number 1 overall pick, number 2 overall pick, comes in banged up, comes back from injury, another injury.
Made it tough for him though, man. I gotta say, watching that game, even though he was playing against my squad out there, it was painful to see him go through, what happened there. And it was such a weird scenario too, because he ran this long run where he just barely got a shoestring tackle. And he got up and just looked mad that he got tackled. Not that he was hurt or anything like that. He just went to the sideline like normal. And then they ran a play without him. Jordan Mason, he comes back in the next play, and then he has that little scamper and falls. And it was instant. The moment he tried to take off, he knew he was toast, and he just went down. And it was like, you knew right away if you watched that play, like it's pretty much done deal at that point. Like even if he's not torn, he's not coming back this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, Jimmy Wojo's in. What's up, Jimmy? And then our El Presidente Alejandro Hernandez is in the chat room. What's up, Alex? Okay, let me run something by you there, Sean. So next year, are you going to make this, or not saying you, but are fantasy gamers going to make the same mistake and draft Christian McCaffrey in the first, let's say, when we're talking like one quarterback leagues, in the top 5, or are they going to be smart and do like I'm going to do, is he's not going to be on my fantasy team unless he drops to like the 6th or 7th round. What are you doing?
I mean, I'm probably in that boat. I'm not at minimum. I'm thinking 4th would be as high as I'd even potentially consider, and that would really depend on how the drafts fall at that point. But I mean, I'd just be concerned not only with his injury history, but his age at this point, and this Achilles thing isn't going away. Even though this was a knee injury, he still has this Achilles issue that's a chronic thing. It's not something that's just going to go away at any point in time. So to me, I'm a little concerned. Like, and you see Jimmy saying 2nd round with a question mark. A 2nd round to me is just like, man, you have to hit your 1st and 2nd round picks in order to be competitive in a league. Most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time at least. So to me, it's so hard to spend that early of a pick on somebody that you might not even have available to you, like what happened this year. So I don't know if I could do it as high as a 2nd rounder.
No. And even like, another guy that came in with injured designation was T. Higgins. I mean, he's heating up a little bit, but he's just been bad. He's not returning value this year. Now, I did say I'd stayed away from Jamar Chase. It wasn't injury. It was more contract. And obviously, he looks like he's going to be the number 1 overall pick in one quarterback leagues next year. So I guess I kind of swung and missed on that one. But in all reality, I mean, I would have taken like CeeDee Lamb, which I did take a lot of, is, right there. And we're going to do a little bit something different.
You could say CeeDee Lamb is an injury issue too, because without his quarterback, he's not the same player. So, you could put it, even though he's not the actual injury, you could put injury as a reason why CeeDee Lamb has fallen as far as production is concerned.
Yeah, but we didn't, we didn't know that in the beginning of the year. I mean, everything was healthy. I mean, we were assuming that. I mean, T. Higgins was coming in with a hamstring injury, and that's right. What we'll get into later is we're going to do something a little bit different. We're not going to do our top 12s of the week. We're going to do our top 12s of the year so far, and then Sean and I are going to go back and forth, and we're going to see what round we're going to take these guys in next year's draft. What we're looking at with what they're looking like they're going to finish. So we'll do that little exercise a little bit later. So now with CMC done for the year, Jordan Mason comes in. So you're thinking, okay, I got Jordan Mason shares. I was smart. I backed him up. And then all of a sudden he's on IR now. Now I remember, I think it was 2 or 3 pods ago, I did say, you gamers that are looking to fill the back end of your roster, go and pick up Isaiah Garendo, because Isaiah starts with an I. Go pick up Garendo.
Different names, but who cares?
He's going to be somebody that you're going to want on your team in case something like this happens. And if you do scoop him up, he could be a playoff winner.
Yeah.
And this come to roost.
And he's actually a guy that I targeted a lot in my late round rookie drafts this year, just because I kind of, always want to kind of get a piece of whatever backfield that they draft in that backfield, because I like Niners backfield for anybody. So the fact that, he's actually going to be their starter for the rest of the season, I'm going to pop him off my taxi squad on every league I got him on.
Right. Looks like Jimbo said he might have picked him up. Maybe Jimbo took my advice and scooped him up in a bunch of leagues.
I like him, and I think he's going to be potentially a league winner for you in your playoffs and moving forward this year, because he's got really, really good talent. And they ran into a buzzsaw with Buffalo, but they're a good running team. So he's probably going to get the bulk of the carries now.
Yeah, and I mean CMC looked good. Like that first couple drives, I mean, I'm like, oh, here comes a big game, because
it would have been a totally different game if he didn't get hurt.
Yeah, because he was getting yardage. I mean, we've always said the weak, or at least I have, that the weakest part of the Buffalo Bills football team is their run defense, and and he was carving them up a little bit, and then he got
every
hurt.
time you have a snow game, it seems like rushing becomes like the part of the game that actually benefits the most from the snow game aspect. Sean McCoy used to do it all the time too. Running backs just seem to tear it up in the snow because defenders just can't grip. So, that's anytime you got a snow game, man, fire up your running backs.
Right. And I mean, the Niners have gone out. They've signed all kinds of backup running backs, but just to let you guys know, these guys are going to be, holding the Gatorade bottle. They're not coming in the game. I mean, it's going to be Garendo. They're going to give him a good look. Some of these guys might get a few carries, but I wouldn't rush out and pick up any of those guys. It's either Garendo, or I would just totally stay away from that 49ers backfield going forward, because the Niners not making the playoffs. They're finished. It's over. So
do we know their matchups for the rest of this season right now? I can look it up real quick while we're talking. Just curious on that.
Yeah. I don't even really care who they play the rest of the year. I mean, the division is shitty, but I just don't see them, making the playoffs. And even if they were to squeak in, it's like I think they're a one and done team anyways. They're going to have to go on the road, and they're not going to beat Philly. They're not going to beat,
they got Chicago, the Rams, the Dolphins, and Detroit. That's their, 14.
So that best case scenario, they're going 2-2. They're going to lose to the Lions. I think they're going to lose to the Rams. So best case scenario.
I mean, you get all the way to the championship game, and he's got amazing matchups as a running back. So I mean, I don't think that I would shy away from him. If you needed like that last flex spot filled.
What, you mean Garendo?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I'm playing Garendo. I'm just saying the other guys. The other guys that.
Oh, the other guys, yeah, the other guys are going to be useless.
No, Garendo's. If you have Garendo, he's in your lineup the rest of the year. Yeah, he's in your lineup the rest of the year, because they're going to give him as much run as possible. And Garendo's explosive. I mean, he's. I've said it before. He's the better back between him and Mason. Mason's more of a kind of a plotter, and Garendo's got that, juice. So yeah, if you were able to pick up Garendo a few weeks ago or last week, you got a golden ticket, going forward.
Do you think that they keep Mason on the roster moving forward? Is Mason on the last year of his rookie deal at this point?
Well, I think they have to, because, CMC, I mean, there's no guarantee that CMC's, what is he going to look like next year? He's a year older, coming off. I mean, all his injuries have all been like lower body. If it's not a calf, it's a freaking Achilles. Now it's a knee. It's like, come on. I mean, this guy's had a lot of wear and tear, and it's just catching up with him. So I think them going into next year, Mason's still young. Garendo's young. They're not moving on from. They'd be stupid to let, they're not letting Garendo go, but it'd be stupid to let Mason go. They need to lock him up.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it could be a really good like Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw kind of backfield setup if they keep both of them and CMC's not around next year or something.
Yeah, and then Jimbo says, you guys think Debo picks up the run plays? I mean, I guess. I mean, yeah. I mean, he probably will, but I mean, I think the Niners are toast, man. They're not playing well. Purdy's not playing well.
They were missing a lot of key players in that game too.
Debo's not really playing well. They don't have it. I mean, they needed Ricky Pearsall to step up. He's not really doing anything. Kittle's been the only bright spot on that roster. So, I don't know. I just, besides really Garendo and Kittle and possibly Purdy, and actually Jennings has been okay. So, but I just think they're toast as far as moving forward and trying to get a playoff berth. It wouldn't shock me if they're just, like I said, best case 2-2. They may only win one more game the rest of the way. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan Mason might not have been able to come back sooner than 4 weeks, and they were just like, screw it. We're going to, CMC 6 weeks. We're just going to put him on IR too. We're going to play the young kid, give him a chance to learn and, move into next season.
Right. Okay, we'll move on to pretty nasty hit over the weekend.
God, that was brutal.
So Shazier,
I was pissed off, dude. I was pissed off at that guy. Like,
I was not happy. Well, first of all, the guy's got it like a soft.
Yeah, he had like a giant club on his arm, and he just, it's like he threw it at him like a caveman.
Yeah, so he comes in, Lawrence gives himself up, and he comes in and just like takes his head off, which is a very vicious, dirty play.
And then I don't care if you, because I was telling my girlfriend about this the other day because I was pissed off about it. And, I don't care. Like, if you've played football at all at any kind of a competitive level in pads, like, yes, the speed of the game happens and things like that. But he had the time as a pro athlete. He knew what he was fucking doing. He could have easily thrown his arms up in the air and just kind of, bumped him, slid over the top of him, with a chest out, kind of slip and slide style. He didn't have to go throwing his arm down into him like that and lean into
No,
it.
he could have came in two hands like this.
Yep.
Just
Or even just gonna hit him. The guy was already sliding under him. You didn't have to touch him. He's already given himself up. So there's no reason to even two-hand him.
He threw a forearm like he was in an MMA fight. I mean,
and he did it on purpose because he wanted to, we're trying to establish a presence of beating them up. We want to be the dominant team out here. So he was trying to do it to kind of, get that extra little snack on the quarterback,
Yeah, and he was suspended for 3 games. I think I would have suspended him the rest of the regular season. I think that would have.
And that's a huge hit for their defense. For a team that's been struggling to try to stay in front of that division and actually be competitive in the playoffs. Al-Shazier, I think, or Al-Shair is his name. He was a key player on that defensive team. So their defense
he's the captain. Yeah, and he's the captain on the team. And for a captain to come back like that, it's like, dude, what are you doing? So I would have suspended him the rest of the regular season. That would have hurt their defense going into the playoffs. But
that's what you get for acting like an idiot.
Yeah. So they're looking like T-Law is probably going to miss this week. And then they're talking about they're basically mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. And Mac Jones played okay. There's some rumblings that they could possibly just shut him down the rest of the year. So if you have T-Law and for some way Mac Jones is on waivers, I would definitely go and pick him up because
I hate that move though.
But I'm saying if you have T-Law on your team, he's at least your second quarterback in a super flex. I don't think anybody has him as a starter in a one quarterback, but he's definitely your second in a super flex because I have him in the triathlon league. He's my number 2 quarterback. So he's out now. And I don't have Mac Jones, so I got to go bidding.
You'll have a couple of players that are actually valuable starters well over Mac Jones, I'm sure, that are available to you.
Yeah, I know. So,
we just talked about it yesterday.
Yeah, so that's for T-Law, and then we have one other pretty bad injury. I know Sean talked about it yesterday on his Guillotine podcast, and that's a 35-year-old Tyson Hill who's been pretty much a tight end juggernaut. The last
hats off to Taysom Hill too, man. That guy was like a stud out there, and I honestly am afraid that was the last time we saw him on a football field.
He's 35 years old at the start of next season, torn ACL. So the Taysom Hill experience is over, probably most likely.
And a new coaching staff too. So who knows if they're gonna value his presence the way that he was before. So
yeah. I'm pretty sure they will. So, Juwan Johnson's your next guy up. I would definitely go pick him up if he's on waivers. He definitely is involved in that offense. He's even involved in that offense when Taysom Hill was in that offense. So, I would definitely go and pick him up. The Saints have wide receiver issues. So, Juwan Johnson could be
pick up their kicker too because they're going to be kicking a lot more field goals now.
Yeah, could be a real sneaky down the road. Okay, let's get into some quarterbacks. And I'm going to run through like the top 12 quarterbacks right now for the year. And then we'll see, we'll do a little bit of, I'll ask Sean some questions on what we think. We'll discuss what we think is going to happen next year going into some drafts. So right now, Lamar Jackson comes in at number 1, Jane Daniels at 2, Joe Burrow at 3, Jalen Hurts at 4, Josh Allen at 5, Baker Mayfield at 6. Bo Nix at 7, Sam Darnold at 8, Kyler Murray at 9, Pat Mahomes at 10, Jared Goff at 11, and Geno at 12. Now, before I get into some Q&A with Sean, I'm going to go ahead and eat some crow, and I'm going to say that Lamar Jackson has arrived. Lamar Jackson is a pocket passer now, along with his running ability. I thought that could become a problem with Lamar when he starts, as he ages, and he starts to not run as much anymore, that his deficiency in accuracy would lead him not to be an elite quarterback anymore. I am wrong. He has 29 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, and he still ran for almost 700 yards. The season's not even over yet. So he's combined for 32 total touchdowns. Now, as you can see, he hasn't run as many innings because that's because they have the king. But going into next year, Lamar's has arrived. Do you have him? I know it probably hurts to have him over Josh, but you got to put him over Josh going in. No, you're just not going to put him in over Josh.
Nobody's going to ever be higher than Josh in my mind. So I might be a little biased here, but I've still taken Josh over Mawar because Josh still throws the ball better and more often. It's just,
So right now, Lamar Jackson has 321 fantasy points. Josh Allen has 251. So it's like a pretty big difference right there.
Yeah, 2 weeks of bad performances and 2 weeks, good on the other side, and Josh will be right there with him.
Now, the second quarterback, Jaden Daniels, is at 261. So there's a huge difference between Lamar and Jaden, but Jaden looks like a clone of Lamar, just a little bit younger. Yeah. So that's really
smaller, good. But
I'm also going to eat some crow on Joe Burrow. He probably hates playing in Cincinnati, but 30 touchdowns, having a tremendous year. Should get comeback player of the year, in my opinion. That team sucks. So I feel a little bad for Joe Burrow. And they were
talking about if they were a winning team, he'd be firmly in the MVP conversation.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Now you got Bo Nix now coming in at number 7. I know we talked about him a couple weeks ago, where he's going to go. Sam Darnold's probably going to be somewhere else next year, I'm assuming. Probably get another contract. Now, some guys that were just outside I want to talk about, and I'm going to ask Sean. I'm going to put Sean through a quiz. I think these 4 quarterbacks. Now, he may disagree with 1 or 2 of them, but for exercise purposes, he's going to have to put these up there. So these 4 quarterbacks were just outside the top 12, and that is Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud, and Jordan Love. Now, my opinion, I think those 4 quarterbacks will be in the top 12 next year.
I can see that.
Out of those, so if those 4 quarterbacks go into the top 12 next year, what 4 quarterbacks do you take out, Sean? So I'll run through the top 12 again. We got Jackson, Daniels, Burrow, Hurts, Allen, Mayfield, Nix, Darnold, Murray, Mahomes, Goff, and Geno. You got to take 4 out.
Darnold, Geno, probably Nix. The 4th one's tough. Do I have to take 4 out? Because what if not 4 don't make it? Can I leave?
Well, assuming that those 4 make it in. So I'm thinking I liked the 3 that you said. So to me, it comes down to either Goff. 3 actually comes down to 3. And somebody might not like the 3rd one I'm going to say, but it comes down to Goff, Darnold, and Kyler Murray.
Well, Darnold was one of my 3 already.
Oh,
so who are the other 3 that you?
Well, then it must have only been 2 then. So it's either Murray or Goff.
I think it's tough to say it. I think it might be Goff because I do believe that Ben Johnson does finally take a head coaching job this year. So if he's on a new offensive coordinating situation, who's to say that team is going to be able to continue to be as productive as they are? And I think Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are going to carry a lot of that fantasy production that team has next year. So if it's either of them, I think it's Goff because I anticipate Murray going upward with Marvin Harrison having another year under his belt.
Okay, so you're saying Goff, Darnold, Nix, and Geno out, Purdy, Herbert, Stroud, Love in.
Yep, and I'm just saying the Nix aspect because I'm kind of anticipating a sophomore slump season from him. So that's why I'm putting Nix in the 4 to get bumped.
Got you.
So he would definitely be the last.
I like Bo Nix. It did show he did kind of fall apart a little bit yesterday, but they won the football game. He's a gunslinger. That pass he threw to Marvin Mims for that
Yeah.
long touch. I mean, that was a freaking dart, man. I mean, in his own end zone, stepped up, just freaking
Right.
rifled it. I
How
mean,
about
that
Judy
showed
with
me right.
the ultimate revenge game too? Holy crap!
Yeah, I mean, that showed me right there that that guy belongs in this league. I mean, you
I
can make a
agree.
throw like that. So, I don't know, man. I agree with the 4 you're taking out. I still wonder about Kyler Murray, man. I still wonder about him. He really needs to take a step forward next year, Marvin Harrison, because if he doesn't, I think Kyler's going to be what 29. I think maybe next year 28.
Yes, I think he's going to be 28. I feel like because didn't he come out young? I think he was young when he came out. I'll go look real quick just to double check this.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So that's your quarterbacks. And obviously some of these positions might change, because they still got some time to play.
He's
But
27 this year, so he'll be 28 probably going into next season.
Got you. Okay, let's move on to the running backs. I mean, no surprise who number one is. It's Saquad's. You have the King at 2. Elvin Kamara. I'll give Connor some props. Our other co-host on here. He said he liked Kamara this year to have a big year. Comes in at 3. Bijan at 4.
Probably the number one beneficiary of the Taysom Hill injury too.
Yeah, exactly. Jahmyr Gibbs at 5. Joe Mixon at 6. Devon Achane at 7. Josh Jacobs at 8. Kyron Williams at 9. David Montgomery 10. Breece Hall at 11. And James Cook at 12. So I'm going to say a few names, and you let me know if you think these two guys could potentially be in the top 12 next year. Chase Brown, yay or nay?
Yeah.
Bucky Irving.
Yes. Because I think he finally proved that Rasheed White needs to leave.
Ken Walker.
That's a tough one.
I think what hurts him is they give Charbonnet so much run.
Yeah.
I think it
And they're
holds him.
such a pass-happy team right now. So if they keep the same coaching staff, which I mean, they're competitive enough, I don't think they're going anywhere. So, yeah, I probably wouldn't. I would say he has a chance, but it'd be a slight chance, and it'd probably be just to jump into the bottom half.
Okay, and this is a big name, and I want to get your opinion on this because you're the running back guy. Jonathan Taylor. What do we do with Jonathan Taylor next year?
I would think that he's going to be faded, and I would take advantage of it. Because I don't think he's going to be like phased out of that offense in any way, shape, or form. I think Anthony Richardson will just get a little bit better going into next season after having, all of this under his belt. So I don't hate it because I do think that team, when they're operating on all cylinders, are, a run happy team, and he's going to get a lot of that. So, I don't not like him at all. I would say mid-second round, I'd be happy as hell to get him.
I think there's a chance he drops down to the 3rd.
You think? So you wait till like the early 3rd, maybe?
I say if you can wrap up, like if I'm drafting in a 1 quarterback league and I take let's say I'm at the back half, or let's say I'm at the early part of the 1st round, like 1 through 4, and I can go like elite receiver, a receiver, and then come back and get Jonathan Taylor in the 3rd, I would be like ecstatic if I could do that.
I would be too. Yeah, that sounds like a dream scenario.
But
I mean, I would probably not take the receiver in the beginning. I would have running back, receiver, running back in my build. But
yeah,
I'd
have to see who's on the board. But at the late 2nd, I mean, I may pass on him and just take a receiver depending on who's there at that point. But like I said, different draft styles. Now out of these top 12, give me 2 players you think might drop out. So Barkley's not going anywhere. Henry's probably not going anywhere. I'm going to throw Kamara in there. I'm going to throw Mixon in there. I'm going to throw Montgomery in there.
I think I like that.
So
I agree with that.
so do you think all three are going to drop out, one or two?
I would say that most likely two will drop out, and Monty would be the one that I think has the best chance to stay there.
Really? Out of him and out of so Monty has the best chance to stay there out of Gibbs and Mixon?
I mean, it's hard because him and Gibbs are going to have such a good split between them. But the reason I say that is because that team, it looks like they're built well. The offensive change there could be a factor, though. So, they might not run the same two-back system if they bring in a different offensive coordinator. So maybe Gibbs is the one that I think is the better one to stay in there out of the three then. And Monty and Mixon would be the ones to drop out.
Okay. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say I think Montgomery doesn't make it back in the top 12. I think he's probably closer to maybe like top 15, top 14. So I think he gets out of the top 12. And then I think Joe Mixon stays there. I think he loves being in Houston. I think he's got one more good year out of him.
I just don't anticipate Houston being that great. I mean, I think that Houston's a good team. I just think that they shot their wad a little early, and then now they're going to have to kind of almost slight reset, and they might have a down year next year. Not so much, bad, but they'll be a little worse than they are this year.
Well, and then one that might shock a lot of people, maybe not. I think the Saints are going to be in a total rebuild next year, and I think Kamara is going to drop out of the top 12. I think they're just going to they need a total reboot.
The best thing for him would be to go to a different team, man. I mean, I would love to see him go somewhere for his last season or two that he can compete on a, championship caliber squad, like what Derrick Henry's doing right now, what Saquon's doing. I'd love to see that for him because I feel like he's one of those guys who's just always kept his head down, always worked hard, never talked bad about how his team has been playing. And he's never really, ever since, the Breeze era ended, he's basically been on just one bad team after another.
Right. And Jimmy writes in chat, what do you think about Pollard? I think Pollard's positioned exactly where he should be. Top 20 back.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Tajay Spears scenario is something to monitor because that guy just cannot seem to stay healthy. And that was the big concern with him in college. So, if he's continues to have problems and, goes into next season still dealing with these nagging injury issues that he's had pretty much all season this year, then I would definitely be picking up Pollard because he'll probably be cheap. And I think he's going to be the feature guy in that offense. And he looks good. That year in Dallas that he was supposed to be the stud, he was just not 100% healthy that year. And it showed in his play. But, when he got to Tennessee and he's healthy, he's ran well when he's gotten his chances.
Right. So, no, I agree. I think he's a back end too. If you're deep at running back, flex spot running back going into next year. I expect Tennessee to be better. I mean, they need to get some linemen to protect Levis, get another WR1.
I bet they do that in the draft.
Yeah. They're going to have to do something like that.
Yeah. I hate drafting offensive linemen in the top 10, by the way. Just going to throw that out there. I can't stand it.
It's not the sexy pick, but you know what? They last the longest if they're good.
I know, but God, I hate it, man. It's not that it's just that, you can get solid, like Deion Dawkins has been a solid tackle in the league and he was a second round pick. You can get really solid offensive linemen later in the draft, but you very rarely do you get the chance at those blue chip receivers after the top 10, or the quarterbacks, I always want, I'm all in that, like with the Giants, take Neighbors, man. With the Chargers, they should have snagged Neighbors. There's no way they're taking that offensive lineman.
Yeah, but you know what though? I'm not going to argue with Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh knows what he's doing. That they turned that team totally around. The defense is number 2 in the league.
But what's their biggest weakness right now? You could literally, it's staring you in the face. It's wide receiver, 100%.
It's wide receiver.
Yeah, 100% it is. If you put Neighbors on that team right now, the way they're playing, I mean, even another tackle would probably play good enough to be able to make sure Neighbors was involved to the point to where, I think Neighbors would probably be our our rookie of the year right now, or wide receiver, offensive rookie of the year, since Jaden Daniels is pretty much running away with it, or Bo Nix, whichever one you like out of the two.
Right.
But,
Okay, let's get into the receivers because I have a lot to talk about with these receivers. So coming in number one, we've already talked about him, Jamar Chase. Number 2 is Amon-Ra. 3 is Jetta. 4 is Terry McLaurin. We'll talk about him. CeeDee Lamb comes in at 5. Drake London at 6. Cortland Sutton has been unlocked. He comes in at 7. Garrett Wilson comes in at 8. JSN comes in at 9. Zay Flowers at 10. Jaden Reed at 11. And Malik Neighbors at 12. So I'm going to go right up to the top, Sean, and I'm going to say that, there's 2 organizations in the National Football League that I despise, and it's the New York Jets and it's the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Cincinnati Bengals had an opportunity in the preseason to give Jamar Chase Jetta money. They could have wrapped him up. He was willing to take that, get him in camp. You know what you got, make him happy, put some money in his pocket. But like the Bengals usually do, they fool around and, they're complete buffoons. And they let they're going to roll the dice and the dice hit him right in the freaking face. Because you know what's going to happen? Jamar Chase at the end of the year is going to say, you know what? I don't want Jetta money. We're going to reset the wide receiver market, and you're going to make me the highest paid wide receiver ever. Is that what you think Jamar Chase is going to end up doing? Because if he's smart, that's what's going to end up happening.
why wouldn't he? I mean, he literally probably told them multiple times throughout the conversations, if you don't do something now, it's just going to get worse for you later. I was watching this real estate show earlier, and the guy said something like, today's price always sounds expensive, but 2 years from now, today's price sounds like a steal. So, and that's totally true with football contracts too. You look at some of these quarterback contracts and people's minds were blown when they happened. And then now look where they're at. Those guys are sitting at like 6th or 7th on the list. So, it's definitely something that they should have just done and gotten over with, knowing they wanted to keep him there. And since they already seem to have made the decision between, whether to pay, him and keep Higgins or not and all that, I think Higgins is gone. I think that money's already been allocated to go to him to try to keep him. Now they're just going to have to put more in it.
What would be awesome is, so T. Higgins is gone. We already know that. It would be awesome if they didn't pay him. They didn't want to pay him, or they gave him some lowball offer. And then he just went and took another deal. And then Joe Burrow says, okay, you're not going to bring me any receivers. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to hold out. I'm just going to sit out. Go ahead and find me. I don't care because I've already collected a shitload of money. So I'm not going to play now.
Oh, you forgot to mention that Jamar Chase left for the Ravens.
That would be something. So going into next year, Terry McLaurin, is he now been bumped up because of Jaden?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think so. I mean, that connection is just going to get better, and Terry has been like salivating for almost a decade for a quarterback like Jaden to finally throw him the ball. So I promise you that Terry is taking full advantage of this opportunity and spending as much time catching balls from that guy as he possibly can. So Going into next season, they have a full off season to work together and get timing down and small little nuanced things. I think you're going to see a similar Kelsey Mahomes type of connection with those two guys next season.
Right. And Zoobs is in the chat. He says Higgins to the Chargers. That would be fire. Yeah, that would be fire.
Yeah, that would be pretty amazing.
Alex,
that would make up for not drafting Neighbors, I guess, to an extent.
Yeah, and then Alex says in the chat, I called McLaurin WR1 this year. He did. I know Alex was all over Terry McLaurin this year, so that was definitely a good call. Okay, run through some guys. Cortland Sutton, number 1 in Denver with Knicks. Him and Knicks have a nice connection. JSN, he's probably going to be – do you think he's the number 1 next year over Metcalf, Sean?
I do, yeah. I think Metcalf is kind of getting to that point in his career where he's going to start taking that secondary role, the 50-50 ball guy, the Mike Williams, in his prime with the Chargers kind of scenario.
Right. Some guys that were just outside that are starting to move up, in my opinion. So Brian Thomas Jr., He's kind of a stud. Him and Trevor Lawrence got a pretty good connection. So I like Brian Thomas going into next
New
year.
coaching can only help. I mean,
Yeah.
unless they bring Urban Meyer back.
If Jameis Winston stays with the Browns, I really like Jerry Jeudy going forward. So I really hope that the Browns do something smart because they're like the third franchise of franchises that I hate. So I hope
Why
they
are you
just
hating on the Browns, man? They're so downtrodden.
they
You
can't
hate on them.
because they keep screwing up the quarterback position. Come on, dude. So just keep they keep screwing up the quarterback position. Come on, they gave Watson all that money.
So basically, you transfer all of your fantasy quarterback love into your hate for certain NFL franchises for their treatment of quarterbacks.
Correct.
I get it. It works.
Where do you think this gentleman goes? And do you think this gentleman next year can make it in the top 12 if they don't add another receiver going into next year? And that is good old Ladd McConkey. There's no one else there.
I know, but do they not just draft a tight end maybe, and then that tight end takes a bunch of targets? I don't know. It's tough to say, man. I would say maybe he has a chance without another receiver getting picked up. He has a chance, yes.
And can the Chargers find a helmet that fits him? I mean, do you see this guy's head in the helmet? I mean,
I didn't want to talk about helmets after having to watch those horrible Denver uniforms running around on a field all day long last night.
You gotta tell me you didn't like those white helmets though? I love the white helmets.
Oh no, dude! Denver has the worst uniforms in the league this year. Like whoever designed those uniforms should be tarred and feathered.
In the off season, I got an exercise because I was actually thinking about this a couple days ago, and we're gonna get some other radio personalities in here. We're gonna do our top 5 best stadiums, bottom 5 worst stadiums, top 5 best uniform combinations, and bottom 5 uniform combinations. So that's a little exercise that we'll all do, and we'll get all the Ballsville crew to all put in their top 5s, and we'll combine them all. I bet you it'll be pretty interesting.
So we have to clarify too whether it's like best experience at a game like at the stadium, or if it's like the actual facility of the stadium.
It's a combination because I know some people haven't been to like a lot of these stadiums. It's a stadium where if you look at it for the first time, or if you look at a picture of it, you're like, wow, that's a cool stadium.
So not like going there and having like the experience of the tailgating. That's not a factor. It's more so.
I mean, it can. I mean, that can be a factor too if you've been there. But something that like if you saw a picture of it, you'd be like, wow, I really want to go there. That looks like a cool stadium.
Like Dallas. Like I've always kind of felt that way about Dallas's stadium. I would like to go see Dallas's stadium sometime.
Yeah.
So I see.
Yeah. So that's an exercise that we'll get into in the off season.
So now you guys know one of my 5.
Yep. So when we have more dead time, we'll get into that. Sean, I gotta run through a couple of these receivers, and you gotta let me know what are we doing with these guys. What are we doing with Tyreek next year?
I mean, if he's gonna be, if they're gonna roll it back in Miami the same as they did this year, and Tua's healthy, I think Tyreek is a sneaky good play again because it's not like much has changed. He's just been having a down year. I think honestly he's playing through injury, and he's probably not really talking much about it, but. I definitely think that Tyreek is still a very, very huge part of that offense. And, if next year they have Tua there and everything's the same pretty much with the exception of maybe like Mostert not being there or something, then I think he'll be just fine.
Right. And then just one other receiver that was kind of concerning when I seen him on the list because some of these lists I'm looking at for like the first time. So A.J. Brown comes in at like 21. Now, If I remember right, didn't he miss a couple games this year?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Yeah, he had like ankle sprain, I think, or something.
So is he a guy that next year you're hoping that like goes under the radar and you could like scoop him up?
I think so, but I think the one that's even more under the radar next year is going to be Devontae. He's having a similar type of season as AJ basically, and people are not even thinking about him right now. So he might be somebody if he doesn't get healthy and have like a blow up kind of few games here before the season's over. I wouldn't be surprised if people overlook him.
Jimbo says in the chat, he goes, Bucks Radio Tampa 95.3 all day, Scott. Set your preset so you know. Thanks, Jimbo. I'll definitely be setting the I like listening to all that stuff. I'm such a junkie.
I wish I had Buffalo's local. I used to have an app that got me Buffalo's WGR station. That's like their local Buffalo sports station, and I used to listen to that all the time on my phone app, and they took it away from me.
Well, Sean, you know what you need to do? You need to just
The
take
WGR.
out one fast food dinner a month, and you can sign up for Sirius XM, and you'll get all the stations.
I actually have a lifetime membership from SiriusXM back when they still sold them for like $300, and I transferred that thing. I carried that thing for over a decade and a half, and I probably, if I called them, I wouldn't be surprised if I could talk them into transferring it for me again to another device and getting it going again somewhere, because I just left it on one car that I traded in.
I love Sirius XM.
I do too. I miss it.
I mean, just listening to the fantasy sports radio station like 24/7. It's just they have such good shows on there, and
I like the NFL channel, man, that they have all the people that are on the NFL channel, the different commentators that they have and different shows. I love it, man. They're great.
Yeah, and I got, before we move on to tight ends, Jimmy Wojo put in the chat, where do you think Godwin ends up? Jeez, I don't know. I'll send that over to Sean.
Oh, hey, Brandon says you could listen to all that on iHeartRadio. I'll have to check that out. I wonder if Spotify has that stuff too, then, if iHeart does. It's a good call, Brandon. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, I didn't think of that either. I'll have to check that out too. Maybe check out Pandora. Is Pandora just basically music, or is that Pandora's? Is that they do podcasts, don't they? Pandora, or no?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's just like Spotify and that, just same kind of concept. Which I assume that's why I assume Spotify would do it if iHeart does, because I feel like they're similar, but I could be wrong.
Right, Godwin. Excuse me. I mean, I think the Bucks keep that going for one more year. I think, you got Baker, you got Evans, you got Godwin.
Especially if they come back and make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I like the Bucks. I mean, I'm starting to like read up on more of them now that I'm in kind of close to Tampa now, so I'm kind of adopting the Bucks as like my second team. So
get your ass out of Detroit. They don't want you there anymore anyway.
Shit.
You're gonna act like that.
I've been a pretty faithful fan for a long time. But,
yeah, and then now they're finally getting on their way to a Super Bowl potentially. You gotta leave.
Well, they were starting to aggravate for a while, anyways. All right, let's get into tight ends. There's only one we really need to talk about, and that's the Brockness monster. I mean, basically playing on a shitty Raiders team, and just he is unstoppable. So, bona fide number one.
Did you call them the Rangers?
Pardon me?
Did you call them the Rangers?
Raiders.
Oh, I thought you said the Rangers.
No, Raiders. Raiders.
That's actually kind of an awesome, like, screw you nickname to all the Raider fans. I'm just gonna start calling them Rangers.
So bona fide number one tight end next year. I mean, you could possibly maybe say Trey McBride's right there, but I mean, is Bowers your number one next year, Sean?
Absolutely. And I'd also like to say thank you to Brock Bowers for officially removing Kelsey from any future talk of being tight end one in the history of fantasy, because that conversation has been so damn irritating for 3 or 4 straight years now. And glad that somebody finally came in and said, screw you, Travis. This is my spot and you ain't getting it back.
Yeah, Swifty Swift is knocked out of the top spot. He is, but he still came in at number 4. George Kittle was ahead of him at 3. Trey McBride was at 2. This was interesting. Jonnu Smith comes in at 5. He stays in that offense. That offense doesn't change. He looks really good.
Yep. Yeah, I picked him up in a few leagues, thankfully, before he got swooped up on, and he's been really helping me out.
I mean, how disgusting does this look right now? So he's playing for Atlanta, and what does Atlanta do? They ship off the wrong tight end. They should have shipped off Kyle freaking Pitts, who can't even finish routes, quits on him, because I watch his routes, and they shipped off the wrong tight end, and Jonnu Smith goes to Miami, and it's just awesome.
They probably could have got a lot more for Pitts, too.
Yeah, exactly. Mark Mandrews comes in at 6. Wow, look who comes in at number 7. It's Zach Ertz coming in at number 7. Kate Otten comes in at 8. Hunter Henry at 9, Tucker Kraft at 10, David Njoku at 11. I really like David Njoku. And Cole Kmet at 12. Guys outside, obviously Kyle Pitts. We already talked about that. I don't think that guy will ever hit the top 12 tight ends. Sam Laporte has been a huge bust. It's either touchdown or bust for him. He doesn't catch passes anymore unless it's like one a game. And then we've already talked about this last week. So Noah Gray comes in at 20, and we're thinking that this could possibly be maybe the change of the guard as early as next year with with him and Kelsey.
I think it's absolutely next year. I believe Kelsey retires.
Yeah, he has other things that he wants to do in his life. So
yeah, I think he's done with football. It almost, you could see it in the way he's playing the game. It feels like he doesn't seem to have the same kind of energy and passion in the game that like he did in the past years. So it feels like to me, it's almost like he came back this year, really wanted to get that three-peat in, but I think he pretty much knew, without saying anything, that this was his final season, no matter what.
Yeah, and Jimbo's memo says what I'm just thinking, but I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass because he just came back to the lineup, and that's Jimbo says, "Where's Hawk?" I don't see Hawk anywhere, but he did just come back, so we'll give Hawk a few more weeks and see when after week 18 if he squeaks up in the top 15.
But we can't not talk about tight ends and not mention T.J. Hawkinson and his start streak at this point. Is this week 5 now, if I'm not mistaken? So he is now 5 weeks deep into the 8-week challenge?
Yeah, I think he's got to go to week 16. Is it 14, 15, 16? Yeah, he's got to make it to week 16.
Yeah, so 3 more games, Scott, and you got to get them golden locks ready, buddy.
Yeah. So, okay, so that was our exercise for our players. Pretty interesting. Yeah, maybe he's on vacation in Lakeland. Yeah, he's probably taking care of his number one fan down there, Ken. So we're going to move on. We're going to go to Ballsville redraft. And we're going to get into the standings because we have one more week until the playoffs. And we're going to let you guys know where everything's at. We have a bunch of teams that have already locked up positions. So we will get into it as we speak. I will do low stakes. I'll let Sean do mid, and then I'll do high again. My voice is getting a little hoarse. We'll start off with Alpha. And looks like we got a couple clinchers. We got TB76 and E. Bailey clinched a playoff spot, 9-4. TB cracked 2,000. Congratulations. This guy didn't spend a dime in waivers. Incredible, man. That's amazing. Didn't spend a dime.
Give us 1 second here, Scott. I am going to refresh my screen because I am not sure if I am have the current scores up here yet. So let me just refresh and get this up and running once again. Yes, here we go. That solved our technological difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. So we are back and rolling.
All right, and then we have the TC show at 8-5. K Doggy Dog at 8-5, and JoJo, our DFS and props expert, coming in at 7-6, 1 game outside of the playoff spot. So he needs a win and he needs some points. So that is the Alpha League. We'll move over to Beta. It looks like just in the Nico time, that's TB76. He's in first again. And look at that. He didn't spend no shekels in this league too. So this guy, he just drafted real well. Not to spend any shekel money.
And nobody is locked in on this one either. That's pretty tight race.
Yeah,
man.
Nobody's locked in. TJ Zeeks comes in at 2. He's on a 6-game rip. Just numbers at 8-5. And then the TC show at 8-5. And then Brandon 2008. He's on a 4-game rip, 8-5. So he's looking to get one of those playoff spots. So looks like just numbers in the show. You better not slip up. And he better
Yeah,
score.
there looks like Jackson Show TC Show is like only about 40 points ahead of him too, so it's a real
Yep.
close race.
Yep, that is it. That's beta. So we're going to hit gamma. Lynn JM, 10-3. There's TB 76. So TB's doing really well in these low stakes. He's 10-3. They both wrapped off a playoff spot. Billy B comes in at 9-4, and then Honcho Jack 41 comes in at 8-5. Tecolate, he's on a 5-game rip, and he is at 8-5. So he's looking for the last playoff spot. We'll go over to low 4. Taryn Capel at 10-3. He's locked off the playoff spot. The TC Show at 9-4. El Super Biesto, one of our game managers, he is at 9-4. And Dadbot 86 at 9-4. So all 4 of these teams wrapped off a playoff spot. Nobody else can enter. So these will be your matchups. I can't remember, Sean. Does it go 4 versus 1 and 2 versus 3? Is that how the playoffs go? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would be surprised if it's any other way.
Okay, so I mean these could change depending on wins and losses as far as second, third, and fourth. I guess probably
All of
number
them.
1.
They
Yeah,
all could swoop around. I mean, number 1 would really have to have a horrible week, and somebody would have to have a great week to catch him on points and tie him in record. But it definitely it's not out of the realm of possibilities. It's just a really slim one.
Yep. So congratulations to all 4 of these teams. You are in the playoffs.
Congratulations.
Epsilon, we got Jimmy Wojo. Jimmy Wojo, we're talking about you. You're 11-2 on a 6-game rip, and you have wrapped off a playoff spot. Congratulations. Stu 69-23 wraps up a playoff spot, and Shy Bears 45. He wraps up a playoff spot. So, your worship, 8-5 is holding on to the last playoff spot, and the TC Show is 1 game behind, and definitely has the points. So don't slip up, your worship, or you will be out. Number 6, Zeta. We got Gaio 55. We have C Sims 52. Both those teams have wrapped off a playoff spot. Themas Popoff at 8-5, and Jason 124 sits in at 4. Colin Black is at 7-6 and 5th, and he needs some big time help because he needs a loss from Jason and a win from him, and if they both win, he definitely needs some points. So he's definitely on the outside looking in, but good luck.
I think if Jason wins, I think it's pretty much out of their own possibilities because he has to score enough to where, he's not going to catch him up.
Yeah, he's really going to have to get some scoring done. That's Zeta. Kappa, we got Jason 124. So you're sitting at 9-4. C Sims 52 again at 9-4. They both wrapped up a playoff spot. Jason's over 2,000 points. JoJo comes in at 3, and the TC Show. So some of these names are pretty familiar. These are very quality owners. They're doing very well in the redraft. So CT Show's at 7-6, holding that last playoff spot. Big time. It needs a lot of help to
Not really. He's not that far off, man. If either JoJo or TC Show loses, he's only about 40 points behind JoJo, just under 40 points behind JoJo. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities at all because he's got 2 guys he could catch and jump. So both of them are they need a win for sure.
Yeah, they definitely control their own destiny. So that's a phrase you'll hear a lot of people say: control your own destiny. That is Kappa. Omicron, there's JoJo at 11-2. We got TV 76 again. They both wrapped up a playoff spot. K Doggy Dog is 3rd, and Grizz Tony, he's a very good high stakes player. Comes in at number 4 at 7-6, and then Lewis 92 at 7-6, just outside. Yeah, he could probably catch K Doggy Dog if he slips up.
Yeah, absolutely he can. I
So
mean, he's
that is
70 points behind him, so 80 points. He needs a loss most likely, but
well, he's ahead of K Doggy Dog. He just needs a he
yeah,
just
he
needs
just needs him a loss there. Yeah, you're right.
a loss and he needs a win.
Yeah, so I mean, Grizz could jump up to third, and K Doggy could go all the way to fifth.
Yep. So that's Omicron. Here's Sigma, and yours truly. I'm the only one in the league that wrapped off a playoff spot. 11-2. Go Titans at 9-4. Julius Poulius 8-5, and Finn's 0913 at 8-5, and we have hashtag Prez at 8-5, just outside. So he needs a lot of help, especially scoring.
He most likely needs a loss out of one of those two and a win on his end.
Yep. So that's Sigma. And then low 10, Omega. We got Mr. Flood Cute, like that name. Massive points, 2,200, 11-2. Carson Peeve, he's on a 7-game rip. Look at that. And big time a Z420 at 9-4. All three of them have wrapped up a playoff spot. Chiefs Life 7-6 at 4th, and TB76 is trying to catch him. So that is Omega. So congratulations to all the low stakes opponents that have, or low stakes players that have wrapped off playoff spots, and good luck to those who are trying to get those last ones. We will move on now to the mids. I got to get out of here.
I'm on near Sky. You want me to go ahead and get started on them?
Yeah, go ahead and get started.
Absolutely. So with the mid leagues, we've got the first league is Raiden, and the top spot we got Rookie 86 with a 9-4 record. Right behind him is Afman 9 in the second spot. Both locked down their positions at 9-4. They are real close in points though, so there could be the potential of a swap in spots based on how this week plays out. Right behind him is Blanks 87 at 8-5, followed up by JoJo at 7-6, and right there chasing him down is Level 5 Boss at 7-6. JoJo's got a good 80-point lead over Level 5 Boss with the same record, and Blanks 87 has a nice point lead too. So team Level 5 Boss is most likely going to need a loss out of JoJo and a win, and that's pretty much his only opportunity. So we'll see how that one plays out. The second league we got is Smoke. In this league, Justin Brown 88 has locked it in at the top spot with a 9-4 record, and right behind him is Grizz Tony with a 9-4 record, also locked in the second spot. There's only a 30-point difference though, so this week could definitely make a difference between where they end up between those two places. Mike's the Guy is right behind them in third at 8-5, tied with K Doggy Dog who at 8-5 and fourth, and just behind them is Batulok at 7-6. He is pretty far back in points, so it's a really, really long shot for him to sneak his way in. This is one of those scenarios where even though it doesn't say locked in, it's kind of sort of locked in. Moving into the third league, Sub-Zero. We've got the Prosciutto Legends 2, Phil 3988 is at 11-2, locked in the first spot. Right behind him at 11-2 in the second spot is Mike's the Guy. He has a pretty substantial point lead, though, so as long as he does not lose this week, he should be able to maintain that first spot. JoJo has locked in his third place position, 9-4, and right behind him are two guys sitting in fourth and fifth, tied at 7-6. Team Chiefs Life is in fourth currently, and Short Stack 11 is in fifth. The points are only 40 points or so apart, so that is going to be a real close battle to watch between those two. It would be super if they actually play each other, but usually don't end up with that scenario. Moving into mid four, and Scott, would you like to say the name of this league?
This is the Knob Slob League.
The Knob Slob League, ladies and gentlemen. Cash 3 is holding down the top spot in this league at 10-3, right tied with Julius Poulius, who's 50. He's right behind him at 10-3. He's got a decent enough point lead, though, so barring a loss and a win, he should be able to lock into that spot. Chiefs Life is locked in third at 9-4, along with Mr. Ben at 9-4. All four are locked into the playoffs. The order, the only change that could happen between first and second. So otherwise, third and fourth are where they are going to be. Mid five is Liu Kang. And Liu Kang, Mr. Ben doing this is locked in his top spot with a 10-3 record. He's right behind him is Pablo One Escobar with also a 10-3 record. Points are far enough ahead where I doubt that will change. Cheeky Hobson is at 8-5 in the third place, along with Mike's the Guy in fourth at 8-5. He has a quite substantial point lead over Mike's the Guy, though, so he probably will not lose that third spot or fourth spot minimum. Behind them is Cash 3 with a 7-6 record, who has higher points than both of them. So there is a chance that Cash jumps all the way up to 3, moving Cheeky to 4, and Mike is out. So we'll see how that plays out next week. Mid 6 is Kung Lao. You got Eddie Money 18 holding down the top spot with 11-2. Right behind him is Cmaj 1231 with a 9-4 record. Their points for are actually higher for the second place, but the records make it out of the realm of possibilities. So that will be locked in at that spot. Right behind them is Sorry for Cussing at 8-5 and Charles Sonelli 42 at 8-5, both in the third and fourth spot. Points for Sorry for Cussing looks like he's probably going to hang on to that third place. Right behind them is JoJo at 7-6. So a win from JoJo, he does have more points than Charlie. So he could, with a loss from Charles, he could easily take that fourth spot over. So that will be interesting to watch. Mid 7 is the Reptile League. Pablo Escobar has got the top spot here at 9-4, followed up by Chadwick 0304, K Doggy Dog, and Mr. Ben doing this, and Cash 3 from 2 to 5 in that order, all at the same 8-5 record. So not a single person in this league has locked down their spot. Literally any one of these 5 players could be eliminated next week. So it's going to be a really fun one to watch here in the mid 7 league. Mid 8 is Scorpion. You got Batchulok locked in at the number 1 spot. Grizz Tony is right behind him. Batchulok has a 9-4 record locked in at the 1 spot. Right behind him is Grizz Tony at 8-5 in the second spot. He does have more points for, so there's a record swap there. Or if he loses and Grizz wins, then he will potentially take that stop spot. 8-5 for C-Bomb in third. JoJo 8-5 in fourth. So all 3 of them are sitting with the same record and close enough in points for that could not make a difference for whatever happens. Scott, you're holding down that 5th spot still with a chance at 7-6.
Long shot.
Yeah, it's a real long shot, but it could happen. Most likely won't.
Thanks.
Mid 9 league, we got Katana sitting in the top spot with our good buddy Zoobsies out there in Alaska, saying hi to the Eagles, rocking down the 1 spot with a 10-3 record, holding out the overall point lead too by a good margin. So he is not going anywhere from that without a loss and a Scott win, who is right behind him at 10-3 with your record. You also are in jeopardy of losing your 2nd spot, but not out of the playoffs, it looks like, because you've got Mr. Ben right on your heels with a 9-4 record, 1 game behind you. And Cash is in 4th at 8-5 behind the 3 of you. And right behind him, Sorry for Cussing, same record, just way farther back on the points for. So if he ends up winning and Cash loses, then they'll have a swap on that 4th spot.
Yeah, and I just want to let you know before we move on, go back to that one real quick.
Absolutely.
So we're in so many leagues that, everybody has like their favorite leagues. This is like one of my favorite leagues. It's not because I'm doing good, but it's because of the quality players that are in this league, and the communication that I have with all these players, like Zubakis, Ben, Cash, Cussin. I've communicated with these guys quite a bit, so I know once the playoffs start, we're going to be doing some heavy shit talking. And if there's some leagues that you just want to win, I want to win this league because Zubakis has been so irritating. He's been such a thorn in my thigh this league. And Zoobs, there will be a rematch. It's going to be me and you. So this is one of my favorite leagues, and that's Katana.
That's awesome. I'm glad you stopped me for that. That's a good one. And our last but not least, Sang Sung League. Mr. Ben is holding down the top spot here with a 10-3 record, locked in. Two at 9-4. Sorry for cussing right behind him. He far enough back in points for. He's going to need a loss and a win in order to get up into the top spot, which he still might not actually make that. Now that I'm saying that, so most likely that's where that's going to stay. C-Bomb is behind them at 8-5, followed by Cash in fourth at 8-5. They both are sitting there. Cash has quite a few points less than C-Bomb does, so I doubt C-Bomb is in jeopardy. But you do have Chiefs Life sitting back there just behind Cash with one game behind and a substantial point lead. So Cash does have that team in jeopardy as being knocked out as well. It could potentially be a bad week for Cash in a few of these leagues. And that is our mid leagues. So I will scroll us down into the high stakes and pull up Scott's favorite little breakdown that he likes to cover so that he can tell you guys all about how these are going.
Yep, I will get right to it. So this is what I like to do for all my gamers. This is what I usually put this together for everybody in the high stakes leagues. Because I guess I have nothing else better to do. So it gives me time to do stuff like this. So
I'm sure a guy like Alex working 3 jobs loves hearing that.
Yeah. So hey, I spent a lot of time working, so this is my reward. Top 10 overall records. As you can see, you got Zay. He's a popular name, one of our really good high stakes players in Gambit. He's 11-2. So we have 2 11-2 teams. We have Zay and Mr. Ben, who's in Phoenix. It's at 11-2. Then we have 5 10-3 teams. JoJo and Wolverine, Zay and Beast and Sinister. Dougie, for the first time, he is in first place in the league. So the first time you've seen Dougie's name.
Doug.
And Mr. Ben and Iceman. And then we have 3 9-4 teams. So we have Ketting 22 and Deadpool, Grizz Tony and Nightcrawler. And this is a new one right here. GLC 76 is finally at the top of the leaderboard, and Magneto at 9-4. So 2 11-2 teams at the top of the records. So we'll go to most points, and we have a new top leader. It's Zay 2403 in Gambit. He took over the points lead from Keith Richards at 21-13-88. That is the highest point total in all of the redraft leagues. Keith Richards drops down to number 2 with still an impressive 20-91-52. You have Grizz Tony at 20-66. And then you have Mr. Ben. So Mr. Ben is 6th in points, and he's 2nd in the Phoenix League. So he doesn't have enough points to be the top, the top leader in Phoenix. So, did I have that right? Yeah. And then Zay is at Colossus at 2019-18. Grizz Tony and Magneto at 216. JoJo at Wolverine at 1992. Zay again and Beast at 1989, and Ketting 22 in Deadpool at 1988. And then down here,
Mr. Ben doing this is actually in first in Phoenix. I believe it was Zay in Colossus who's not in first, but still has that high score.
Yep. You said, okay. Yeah, you corrected me there. Thank you very much. That's why you're my co-host. And the most top 4 playoff positions. So these are teams that a lot of these guys are in multiple leagues, and they're in a playoff position in their league. So Mr. Ben is in a playoff position in 6 out of the 10 leagues that he is in, because he is in all 10. So that is a huge accomplishment. Congratulations, Mr. Ben. Now, it's not over. We have one more week. So we'll see if he holds those 6 playoff spots.
I can guarantee you one of them he's going to have just fine, because he's first in the league I'm in with him. So,
wow, you're not giving yourself any credit, Sean.
Well, it's because he's ahead of me. I can't give myself credit. He's ahead of me right now.
So Cash is in 4, Zay is in 4, and Grizz Tony, he is in 3. So those are our high stakes statistics, and then we'll get into the leagues itself. Coming in at number 1 in the Wolverine League, it's JoJo at 10-3 on a 5-game rip. He wrapped up his playoff spot. You got Mr. Bennett at second, Lovejohn at third, and Finch in wrapping up fourth. You have Short Stack just outside, but he basically needs a loss out of Finch to even get that fourth spot. So
don't forget about Alex. He's not completely.
Yeah, Alex.
He only needs a shitload of points and 2 losses from 2 other teams, and he's right
Alex,
there.
Alex is like the what is it, the 100-to-1 horse that you bet on on the racetrack, and hope that it hits.
The one whose ribs you can see as it gets off the trailer.
Yeah. So hope that they juiced them up before the race. So yeah, Alex, we're rooting for you. Get in there. So that is Wolverine. We will get into Beast now. And Zay, the TC show, Colin Black have all wrapped up playoff spots. Congratulations to you 3. And then Rookie 86 comes in at number 4. He's got Mr. Ben on his heels, only 30-some points back. And Short Stack is a game back, but it looks like if he wins and those 2 lose, he's going to hop right up to 4th.
Yep.
So Short Stack, don't give up. You're right there, bud.
Hopefully he's playing one of them, so at least he could, get one of them out on his own,
Yeah, and that's what I did. Is a lot of my leagues, if I was just outside, I would look and see who am I playing next week and who's everybody else playing.
Yep, I do that on every league.
I know everybody else does it too because we're all a bunch of sick nerds. So now we'll go to Gambit. It looks like Zay. It looks like Keith Richards have wrapped up playoff spots. Look at Zay, 11-2 on a 10-game rip. So very dominant in that league. Thrill Kill comes in at 3. Chiefs Life is hanging on to that 4th spot. And just outside, we got, looks like Pablo Escobar and Pistachio. And let me look at the numbers. So, yeah, Pablo needs a loss from Chiefs. And, yeah, Pistachio needs a lot of help. So, yeah.
He could actually with a solid week, he could jump up to 3rd.
Yeah. So that's it's a lot of these leagues are, one spot's usually pretty, available. So definitely got to keep your eye out for them.
It speaks to the competitiveness of our players.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like I said, coming in Colossus, we have a new number 1, and that's Dougie. So Dougie 1727. Zave's been holding the top spot for pretty much the whole year. He knocked him down to number 2. And Cash is in at number 3. All 3 of them have playoff spots wrapped up. Mr. Ben, he's sitting at number 4. And he looks like as long as he doesn't slip up, he's going to be good. He has a pretty big lead over these guys.
Let's hope he's not playing Dougie or Zay this week.
Yeah, that's something they have to look into. So that's Colossus. So we'll get over to the Nightcrawler, and you got Grizz Tony, you have Mr. Ben, both locked up playoff spots. TB76 and Cash at 7-6, and then you have a couple 6 and 7 teams just outside. Looking at numbers, it looks like they both.
There's a chance that both 3 and 4 get eliminated out of this bracket, out of this league right here.
Yep, this one's going to be interesting because Sean is absolutely right. 3 and 4 got to win. They got to win.
If they play each other, man, that would be brutal, huh? Because one of them is definitely not going to get the win, and then they would need a lot of points for in order to survive, especially if it's Cash.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's hop over to Phoenix. I think this is Sean's league. We'll have to look. I can't remember.
This is the league that I believe Mr. Ben is right ahead of me in. Yeah, this is the one.
So you got Mr. Ben, you got Sklem, and you got Ketting 22 all wrapped up. And Sean would just need a monster week to even.
This team is a paper tiger. It's probably a one and done league.
Wow, Sean really likes to pump himself up. If you didn't notice,
I am just being honest, man. They're just like they're overperforming, I think, at this point. But hey, you never know, right? Playoffs are the whole game, so
yeah. Mr. Ben's crushing this league. He's 9-9 rip, doing really well. We got T Sizzle sitting at number 4 at 8-5. He's in a little bit of trouble because he controls his own destiny. He has to win. He cannot lose and have one of these other two teams win because they'll be leapfrogging him for sure.
Yep.
So that's Phoenix, Sean's favorite league. And we'll hop over to Iceman. And the only team that's wrapped up here is Mr. Ben at 10-3. We have Bada Bing at 8-5. We got TDX Orm at 8-5. We got Grizz Tony at X5, all sitting at 8-5. You have Zay 2403 at 7-6, and Tofia 2121 at 7-6. It looks like Zay's got a chance if he can win and get one loss out of. At least he wants Grizz Tony to lose, and if TD Exorm loses and he can get at least 35 points, he's going to jump up. So I know Zay wants to get another playoff berth. It's not like he doesn't have enough already. But congratulations to everyone in that league trying to get a playoff spot. We will go to number 8, which is everyone's favorite league, and that's Deadpool. And we have Keating 22. We have Sigma 1234 wrapped up a playoff spot. We got Cash at 8-5 and JoJo at 8-5. And we've had Zoobs down at 7-6 and Bakula at 7-6. And
I'm wrong. Wasn't Zubikis like carrying the top spot in this league early in the season?
was like doing really well for a while, and then he took a spill. But he's got a lot of points. So he's second in points in this league. So if he can just he's got to get a win. And he's got to hope for a loss. So I mean, I'm sure he's trying to figure out if he's playing Cash or JoJo going into next week. But that would be pretty upsetting if he was to get knocked out of the playoffs with the second most points. So
yeah, I mean, look at 3 and 4 in the same boat that we were just talking about with the other league, where they could easily be eliminated from the playoffs. Yeah. Both.
So this will be definitely an interesting league to follow. Number 9, Mr. Sinister. We have Zay 2403, Pablo Escobar wrapped off playoff spots, and Cash and Big Blue 079 coming in 8-5. They're in the 3 and 4 spot. JoJo's at 8-5, but he has point problems. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Ben, he also has point problems at 7-6. So we need JoJo needs a win, and needs Cash or Big Blue loss if he wants to.
If Cash and Big Blue play each other, then JoJo's guaranteed playoff spot.
Yep, that's something that I'm sure we'll look into. That's Sinister. And then our last league, Magneto. Like I said earlier, we have new number 1 on a 6-game rip. That's GLC 76. Not only coming in at number 1, but wrapping up that playoff spot. We have Grizz Tony coming in number 2, Twinsanity at 3, Mr. Ben at 4. And we have Cash and Sorry for Cussing both at 7-6. And it looks like Sorry for Cussing needs just a boatload of help. He's probably in the same boat as Alex, one of those horse racing bets. But Cash actually has a pretty good chance if Mr. Ben goes down. So
if GLC loses this game, he can drop all the way from 1st to 3rd.
Yeah, Yeah, for sure. So, but yeah, he's on a good rep, 6 wins. So that wraps up high stakes. Congratulations to everybody that has clinched a playoff spot, and good luck to everyone that is trying to achieve a playoff spot. So that wraps up our Tuesday pod. There's just a few things I want to go over before I let everybody go. I saw it in the pot. I saw it.
Well, you said that like my high school teacher.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on such fumes right now. I'm just like, I just need to go to bed. Somebody said, Jimmy Wojo said in chat, so he mentioned that he won 3 out of 4 prop bets that he made last weekend.
Nice.
A lot of those bets, those bets he won using the tools. Congratulations. I know he had Discord. He pops in and asks when the tools are going to be up, and same with Zubikis. And I know I've done very well in DFS using the tools. So please go on there and check out the tools section. It's very helpful. The people that use it, we're winning money. Like I've always said, if you guys aren't using the tools, you're losing money. Even if you're just going DFS and you bet $1 a game or $5 a game. I mean, using the tools, we do win. So I think I've only had 2 losing weeks playing DFS. So, and like I said, if you're new and you don't know how to play, DM me. I can follow you in the right direction. Those 50-50 games are pretty juicy. I mean, you just got to come in the top 50% to win money.
I'll hit you up while I'm in California tailgating so that I can actually access the daily fantasy.
Yeah.
Like
Make sure it works in your state, because it doesn't work in all kinds of states. So, please go onto the website, check it out. Not only can you look at the tools, but everything that we mentioned just now, as far as the rankings for all our leagues, are all on the website in the scoreboard section. Alex does a good job, along with Zubikis and Z-Dubs, to update all these rankings for you guys every week. So I'm so long-winded now. So for my co-host Sean, like I said again, we will not be around Friday. So please
and keep an eye out for me. I'm going to try to make TV on the LA game. So just watch the Bills-Rams game, and you might see a goofy Sean in the stands at some point.
There you go. And I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Everybody was safe, and good luck this weekend. This is the last push for the playoffs. So for my co-host Sean, for all of Ballsville, for everybody that's in chat, I'm your host, Lutz for Sale, Scott Fitzgerald. And the next time you see me, I will not be wearing a hoodie. I will be in sunny Florida. And until then, folks, we're out.
That's a wrap.